Deep in the heart of the country lay a place untouched by time. It was a place where ancient trees stood tall, their branches clawed at the sky. They whispered secrets to the wind. This was Whispering Woods. Locals spoke of the woods in hushed tones, stories passed down through generations. They told of people venturing in, never to return. Some dismissed these tales as folklore, others knew better. The woods had a presence. It was ancient and hungry. Many had felt its eyes watching. Their courage would melt like ice in the face of its stare. They felt an unsettling truth in the pit of their stomachs. Whispering Woods was a place to be feared. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the land. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, a breathtaking sight that marked the end of another day. As the light faded, the forest seemed to come alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures beginning their nightly routines. The air was filled with the scent of pine and earth, a reminder of the untamed beauty of nature. A group of friends journeyed toward Whispering Woods. They had been planning this trip for months, eager to escape the hustle and bustle of city life. Each step they took brought them closer to the heart of the forest, where they hoped to find peace and adventure. Their laughter echoed through the trees, a testament to their excitement and camaraderie. They were young and full of life. Their spirits were high and their hearts were light. The forest was their playground, a place where they could let go of their worries and embrace the freedom of the wild. They shared stories and jokes, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment, unaware of the darkness that awaited them. As the sun disappeared completely, the forest took on a more ominous tone. The once inviting paths now seemed to twist and turn in unfamiliar ways. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and the sounds of the forest grew louder and more unsettling. But the friends pressed on, confident in their ability to navigate the wilderness. There was Jake, the leader of the group. He was the one who had suggested the trip, and his enthusiasm was infectious. Jake was always up for a challenge, and he saw this adventure as the perfect opportunity to test his skills. He led the way with confidence, his eyes scanning the path ahead for any signs of danger. He was adventurous and always up for a challenge, whether it was climbing a steep rock face or navigating through dense underbrush. Jake was in his element. He thrived on the thrill of the unknown, and his friends admired his bravery and determination. With Jake at the helm, they felt invincible. Emily, Jake's girlfriend, was a photographer. She had a keen eye for beauty and a passion for capturing the world through her lens. Emily was always on the lookout for the perfect shot, and the forest provided her with endless opportunities. She moved with grace and purpose, her camera clicking away as she documented their journey. She was drawn to the beauty of nature, the way the light filtered through the trees, the vibrant colors of the foliage, and the intricate details of the forest floor all fascinated her. Emily hoped to capture the essence of the woods through her lens, to share the magic of their adventure with the world. She hoped to capture the essence of the woods through her lens. Each photograph was a piece of the story they were creating, a memory frozen in time. Emily's passion for photography added a unique perspective to their journey, and her friends often marveled at the beauty she was able to capture. Ben, the jokester of the group, kept everyone's spirits high with his infectious laughter. No matter how tough the hike or how challenging the terrain, Ben always found a way to lighten the mood. His jokes and playful antics were a constant source of entertainment, and his laughter was contagious. Rounding out the group was Sophia. She was the quiet one, often lost in her own thoughts. But her silence was not a sign of disinterest. Rather, it was a reflection of her deep connection to the natural world. Sophia had a way of seeing things that others missed, and her observations often provided valuable insights. She was quiet and observant, always the voice of reason. When the group faced a difficult decision or encountered a problem, it was Sophia who often found the solution. Her calm demeanor and thoughtful approach made her an invaluable member of the team. She had a way of grounding the group, reminding them of the importance of staying focused and working together, always the voice of reason. Her insights and observations were often the key to overcoming obstacles, and her friends relied on her wisdom. Sophia's presence was a steadying force, and her quiet strength was a source of comfort for the group. They were excited for a weekend of camping and fun. The anticipation of nights spent under the stars, sharing stories around the campfire and exploring the mysteries of the forest filled them with joy. They set up their campsite with enthusiasm, each task bringing them closer to the adventure they had been dreaming of. They had no idea they were walking into a nightmare. As the darkness closed in around them, the forest seemed to change. The once familiar paths became treacherous, and the sounds of the night took on a more sinister tone. The friends' carefree spirit began to wane, replaced by a growing sense of unease. Little did they know, their adventure was about to take a terrifying turn. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew heavy, laden with an almost tangible sense of foreboding. Each step they took seemed to echo louder than the last, as if the forest itself was amplifying their presence. It was thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. An unnatural silence descended, wrapping around them like a shroud. The usual forest sounds, chirping birds, rustling leaves, were conspicuously absent, replaced by an eerie stillness that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. The silence was broken only by the sound of their own footsteps crunching on the forest floor. Each step seemed to resonate, a stark reminder of their isolation in this vast, mysterious wilderness. They set up camp near a babbling brook, hoping the sound of flowing water would bring some comfort. The brook's cheerful melody provided a stark contrast to the oppressive atmosphere of the forest, but it did little to lighten the mood. Its cheerful melody did little to lighten the mood. The brook's song was a fleeting distraction, unable to mask the underlying tension that gripped the group. The trees loomed over them like watchful giants, their branches intertwining to form a dense canopy that blocked out the sky. It felt as though the forest was closing in on them, a living entity with a will of its own. They seemed to close in, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The once inviting woods now felt like a labyrinth designed to ensnare and confuse. As darkness fell, the forest came alive. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting eerie shadows that danced and flickered. The once silent woods now buzzed with a symphony of strange and unsettling sounds. It was a symphony of strange and unsettling sounds. Crackling twigs, rustling leaves, distant, guttural howls. The forest seemed to be whispering secrets, its voice a haunting melody that sent shivers down their spines. The campers tried to ignore the unease that crept up their spines. They huddled around the campfire, its flickering flames casting long shadows that seemed to dance with a life of their own. They told stories and jokes around the campfire, their laughter a fragile attempt to ward off the encroaching darkness. But fear had planted its seed, and no amount of laughter could dispel the growing sense of dread. But fear had planted its seed. It took root in their minds, growing stronger with each passing moment. The forest, once a place of adventure and excitement, had transformed into a realm of shadows and whispers. It began to grow in the silence between their laughter. The moments of quiet were filled with worried glances and unspoken fears. The forest had them in its grip, and it wasn't letting go. Night fell in earnest, casting a deep, inky shadow over the forest. A blanket of stars was hidden behind a thick canopy of leaves. The darkness felt alive, as if the forest itself was breathing, whispering secrets to those who dared to listen. It pulsed with unseen energy, an ancient force that seemed to awaken with the setting sun. The wind rustled through the leaves, carrying with it the faintest hints of voices, almost imperceptible but undeniably there. As the friends settled into their tents, the forest seemed to close in around them. Jake, always the skeptic, couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He noticed something strange, a subtle shift in the air. He could have sworn he heard whispering, a soft murmur that seemed to ebb and flow with the wind. It was as if the trees themselves were speaking, sharing their ancient tales with the night. It was faint but distinct, a chorus of voices just beyond the edge of comprehension. Jake strained to hear, his heart pounding in his chest. The whispers seemed to call to him, beckoning him deeper into the forest. It seemed to come from the woods themselves, an eerie symphony that played on the edge of his senses. The wind picked up, carrying the whispers closer, wrapping them around him like a shroud. He dismissed it as the wind playing tricks on him, a figment of his imagination. But deep down, He knew there was something more, something that defied explanation. But deep down, a chill ran down his spine. He wasn't alone. The forest was alive with unseen eyes, watching, waiting. The feeling of being observed was almost palpable, a weight that pressed down on him. Emily, too, felt a presence. She had always been sensitive to the unseen, and tonight was no different. The air was thick with tension, and she could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon her. She felt eyes watching her through the darkness, a gaze that seemed to pierce through the night. It was an unsettling feeling, one that made her skin crawl and her heart race. She clutched her camera close, the familiar weight of it providing a small measure of comfort. It was her only link to the world she knew, a barrier against the unknown. It was her only comfort in this strange, whispering forest. The camera was a lifeline, a way to capture the inexplicable and make sense of the chaos around her. Sleep came in fits and starts, the whispers invading their dreams. Each rustle of leaves, each gust of wind seemed to carry with it a fragment of a story, a piece of a puzzle they couldn't quite grasp. Each of them was plagued by unsettling dreams, visions of shadowy figures moving through the trees, whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, dreams of shadowy figures and disembodied whispers. The forest was alive, and it had stories to tell, secrets to share. But those secrets came at a price that Jake and Emily were only beginning to understand. The first rays of dawn pierced through the dense canopy. It cast long, eerie fingers of light across the forest floor. As the campers emerged from their tents, they were met with a chilling sight. Ben was gone. His tent was empty. His belongings were scattered around. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Panic seized the group. They searched frantically for their friend, but Ben was nowhere to be found. Jake called out Ben's name. His voice echoed through the silent woods. Only silence met his ears. The silence seemed to mock their fear. With each passing hour, their hope dwindled. The gravity of the situation settled in. They were lost and alone in a place that seemed to swallow people whole. The forest had become a labyrinth. It was a maze of shadows and secrets. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down their spines. They jumped at their own shadows. Their fear became their constant companion. It whispered in their ears. It magnified every sound, every shadow. They needed to escape, but the more they tried to find their way out, the more lost they became. The woods had them trapped in its grasp.